Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Tanya Devane. I want to thank you all for joining us today for Employee Recruiting Methods to Hire Right the First Time. We all understand the trepidation that people feel when they're being interviewed and when we have to interview them, because some of those interviews can be horrible, just like you. I can't believe I have to sit through an hour of this person babbling on about nothing that's not going to help us, or trying to find the right people. That's also, sometimes it feels like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. I know when I'm talking to clients all the time, they're like, Tanya, where can I find someone? Just send somebody to me. And that's what we're going to talk about today, the different ways that we can help find those individuals that will stay with our organization. Because we know what happens on interview day. The people show up and they look like this. You have that great feeling. This person is going to make it. They're going to knock it out the park. They're going to be our star A1 players. They're going to hit the ground running, and we all love that because that's how we get that feeling at the interview. We send them that offer, and they're like, yes, I accept, and we think, I've made it happen today. I can check this day off as great, good, awesome. But then this is what happens. And that person's probably thinking, well, I'm glad, I went on that interview yesterday because this one right here, this job right here is not where I want to be. So I'm definitely not taking my resume down off of Indeed or off of any job board. So we want to try to stop that. And that's what this webinar is about today. One, how can we get great people? And once we have them, how can we keep them? Let's make sure that they stay with us, because we've all probably experienced, and I'd like everyone to raise their hand if you wondered if the evil twin switched places with your new hire. Like, what happened? I thought I hired, Dr. Jekyll, but I got Mr. Hyde. Or it could be vice versa. Maybe you were hiring Dr. Hyde and you got Dr. Jekyll, but we've all probably experienced that. You can raise your hand if that has happened to you. Yep, I do definitely see some hands going up in regards to the evil twin has come. Or hired a candidate and you thought that they had the skill set, but they were struggling in the position that you put them in. So they seem like a great candidate. They had a great work ethic. They're coming in every day. You can see they're really trying, but for some reason it's just not connecting. It's not the person that you thought, or they're not excelling the way you thought that they would. And then lastly, what about that, I had that great interview at that salesperson. He was so personable and gregarious. I definitely felt a rapport during that interview, and then come to find out when you bring him on, well, you definitely see his expense reports coming in where he's taking people out to lunch and dinners, and they're going to happy hours, and I see the travel trips where he's going to the trade shows, but for some reason I see the expense reports coming in and the credit card bills coming in, but I don't necessarily see the checks coming in, because what he's out there doing is being a professional friend maker, and that's what happened during the interview process. You just hired yourself a friend and not a salesperson. So let's talk about some of the hiring mistakes that we have, when we're trying to bring somebody on. The first one is weak recruiting. And so it starts initially from that job, the job posting that you have. I help our clients, and we also have Cynthia Brooks, our benchmarking specialist, where she assists our clients in regards to getting impactful ads that will drive people to your company. So let's do a quick little exercise. Let's say that we are hiring for a CSR that we want to sell. So they're going to be servicing, but they're also going to be selling. Which one of these ads would you use to attract a selling CSR? And I'll give you about a minute to go ahead and read through both ads, and you can just type down at the bottom whether you would select A or you would select B. Okay, so now I see a lot of B's. What were some of why did you all select B? What was going on in B that made you think, oh, I think B would be more of that selling CSR? Because they are fairly close, but there are some key words that you would point out. Proactive, perfect, yes. So if we're looking for someone to kind of do some upselling, some cross-selling, add more touch points to the clients that we already have. Problem solver, wonderful. You want someone that is proactive, that can problem solve, because if I'm trying to get my existing client to use other services that we have to offer, then I have to find out what their problem is, because we probably have a product that can help them. Like, we had a lot of clients that were searching, how can I get great applicants? How can I get my name out there more? That's why we created our own applicant tracking system that connects with Indeed. So when you put your job description or your job ad with us, it goes directly into Indeed. So now that is the #1 job board site. So now it's getting out to a lot of people, and that's beneficial. So understanding the problem, you can definitely become a solver, and you all are all right in regard are correct in regards to when you say it's B. Also, sometimes when we're talking about weak recruiting and we're talking about job ads, some people actually use their job descriptions as their job ads. And a description typically lists subjective or interpretations of required skills and experience. And they typically only highlight the hard skills. They leave out the most critical elements, such as key performance objectives, the soft skills, the behaviors, the values, the character traits. It's those competencies that, sometimes people may list on their resume, but you might not get that information from them if you don't have it in your job ad. If you're only putting up your job description, the list of duties, we're only focusing on the hard skill. And the hard skill is fine, but the soft skill is what makes people stay. The soft skill is what will draw people into your organization, that will get your clients to invest more, that will increase your brand recognition. And that's what this is about in regards to increasing brand recognition, because not only will that help you on the profit side, because yes, if people know about you, they'll use you more, but also it will help you in regards to getting better qualified employees, because now I want to work for that company because I know that they are awesome to work for, that they have a great culture, that they believe in their people. So now you won't have to fight as hard to get people in the door, because people are going to be sending you resumes just out of the blue saying, I heard that you are the company to work for, and I want to align my strengths with with this company. So you want to think about that. So you also want to include keywords, and you all picked up on that in regards to consultative, problem solver, proactive. And so you want to include those types of items as well when you're looking at that job ad. So when you're posting that ad, you want to make sure that you don't just post your job description. Also, you want to address the prospect's pain in your job ad. Look at the competitors. Think about this position and why some people may be thinking about leaving their current employer. Maybe it's pay. Maybe they don't feel like they're being trained, or maybe they don't feel like they're being that their employer trusts them or empower them. Think about those things and add those types of adjectives or words into your job ad, because that's going to make. So now, you've touched on my pain spot, and I'm a great employee, but my current employer, they don't trust me. I feel like I'm being stifled, like, it's just rules and regulations all day. So I need to feel creative. So now you've touched on my pain spot because you said I can be creative. Okay, let me go ahead and apply. So you want to think about that as well when you're creating your job ad. Also, think about where you are sending this job ad to. So now that we've created the perfect job ad, that eye-catching, people pay attention type of job ad, now where are we going to put this up? Some people, you may want to just kind of check internally. That can sometimes be your best resource. When your people are already with you, they've been with you, they're great employees, maybe they know somebody that wants to join this great team. Also, maybe your customers. And sometimes that can be a little bit of a sticky situation. I know I've talked to clients where they said, yeah, I just ran the Omnia because my top client said that his son would probably work out well. And once we see the Omnia, that this person is not necessarily a salesperson, he's that professional friend maker that I was talking about earlier. And I know sometimes, and so they're like, well, Tanya, how can I kind of tell, my top client that this is not a great fit for them. And you just have that conversation. So your son has a lot of strengths, and he's deaf. And then I always say talk about the strengths and then give them solutions that maybe this type of job would be a better position for him. Maybe a telemarketer, maybe someone in the marketing field that comes up with great ideas and marketing strategies and plans. And so while your customers are a great channel, I know there are some challenges that can come with that. Website. It should be on if you're looking for people, it should be on your website, because once you are that brand that everybody wants to work with, they're going to be going to your website. So you should have a place for them to apply on the website. Also, think about other employees, that you may come across, as well as niche job sites. So if you're looking for something very specific, sometimes there are IT websites that are beneficial as well. And then networking. When you're out in the community, I remember when I was hiring for a salesperson, I was always hiring, meaning I was always trying to get people in my tickler file. So if something did happen, if someone got promoted, someone moved, whatever the case may be, I would have a file to go to. So whenever I was out, in the community, if I was getting lunch or dinner, whatever the case may be, if I got great service or if I really liked that person's style, I would always hand out my business card and say, if you're ever interested in, changing careers, I would love to have a conversation with you about the opportunities that I have over here. And so always, I'm always hiring. I'm always looking for someone that I may want to add to my team, because at that point I'm seeing this person at their best. I'm seeing this person when they're at work. They didn't know they were coming for an interview, but I just basically interviewed them because I saw how they were working, and I can tell by their work ethic. We've probably all experienced those people that just seem to love their job no matter what that job was. They just seem to enjoy it. And I'm like, that's how I want my clients to feel when they are talking to my employee. When they see my employee out, I want them to know that, wow, Tanya really loves that job. She does an excellent job. And also job fairs are wonderful, especially colleges are about to graduate. And those colleges, they need the numbers in regards to making sure that graduating seniors have positions. So that's always a great place to try to recruit. And sometimes colleges will allow you to post on their board. But also think about what is the number one job site, which is Indeed. And so that's again why we introduced that new service that we have, which is our applicant tracking system that can kind of help you with that hiring mistake number one of weak recruiting. So let's get to number two. And we've probably all have experienced this because we have been in a hurry. The person quit, and then I had another person quit. So now I'm on this fast track. I'm just trying to be too quick. I need somebody right now because now I've had two people quit on me today. And I don't understand, but I need to get somebody in here now because these phones are ringing off the hook. Or, I know a salesperson when I see one. I've been in sales all my life, so I can really tell when I have a good salesperson in front of me. Or I don't have time to go through all the proper processes. And the first person that comes through the door, or their resume looks good, let's go ahead and try that. So really, the solution to that is take a breath, slow down. You want to fire fast and hire slow. You don't want to be someone that is in that panic mode. That's why you have that tickler file to ensure that when people do leave, you have somebody to go to. Like you've already vetted a few people that you may just need to bring in for an official interview. Also, think about it. Think about you hired this person quickly because you had two people turn in their resignation at the same time. And so you have to get somebody in because you can't leave the department shorthanded. So now you get 6 months down the road, and because we didn't vet this person properly at the beginning, we didn't go through all of the proper channels, we have to let this person go because they just didn't work out. So now we've wasted 6 months of our time training this person. They have been the brand ambassador of our company. People have been calling in, speaking with them. They've been seeing them out in the community. They've been going to trade shows for you, or going out to chamber meetings and doing that networking piece. And now we have to let them go because we didn't do our due diligence on the front end. So now we're stuck with what we have, and we have to start the process all over. Like my mom always said, if you're going to do it right the first time. And you're taking that first step by joining us on this webinar today. So you just want to ensure that you fire fast and hire slow. If you see this person is going down the wrong path, and you've tried, you've counseled, you've mentored, you coached, you trained, and they are just not getting it, that's when the quick decision needs to be made. Let's not let this go on for 6 months, a year. Let's go ahead and get that person out so we can get an A player in. So think about that, just quick tagline: fire fast, hire slow. And when you're thinking about that hiring process, you want to determine the cultural fit. Meaning, do they fit within our organization? Employees should be motivated by the working environment offered by your company and demonstrate that ability to work well with others and team members. Next, you want to make sure that it's the boss fit, meaning that leadership piece. Candidates should be a good match with their direct managers in terms of the personality, the traits, the values, and the expectations. And this part is so important. That's why we include it in our Omnia profile. We do the supervisor benchmark. So we will tell that supervisor or that manager, that leader, how to get the best out of that person. Then we take it even a step further in regards that we do peer benchmark. So you have a star performer on staff, and if you could hire 5 of them, you would. We will tell you how your potential new hire compares to that star player. So you want to make sure that they fit. And then you want to make sure that they have the behavioral fit, meaning that they possess the right skills, the behavioral traits and experiences that you need for this role, in addition to having just the genuine interest to perform the required task. When you're conducting those interviews, you're going to have some of those behavioral questions. Part of your interview process is going to be the assessment to make sure that we know what their dominant behaviors are. So we want you, but we want to make sure that they fit within our organization. The third hiring mistake that we come to is bonding. So we all know that the internet works both ways. So they can find out that you went to Florida State University, or that you are part of this organization, or you're a part of, this sorority. They can find that out about you, and they can bring that to the interview. So they can have that bonding piece with you. Oh yeah, go Gators, or whatever the case may be. Or sometimes you have professional interviewees. I was reading an article probably about 2 weeks ago, and it was talking about when you're looking at resumes and you see that this person has been in a position for a long time. So they haven't job hopped a lot. And when you interview them, their interview was a little weak. And that could probably be because they haven't been on an interview in 14 years. So sometimes you have to take that into consideration, that if somebody has job hopped, if somebody's really good at interviewing, maybe they're a professional interviewee. Also, think about that if you Google right now how to ace that interview, guess what? You will get billions of hits, and that's with the B. You will get a lot of hits, and it's going to tell you this is the interview question that they're going to ask, and this is how you should answer it. Thanks to Glassdoor.com, people actually have that information in regards to your particular process, your particular interview questions, how long the process typically takes. People can kind of almost Yelp review your interview process, whether it's good or bad. And when you think about, that information is out there, people can come in armed, being well versed in who you are and what type of interview this is going to be and what type of questions you're going to ask. So you want to kind of keep everybody on their toes. And then also, you aren't objective once you like them. Once, okay, we've had that secret handshake from our sorority or our fraternity. They are, Gator fans, and so are they like my my football team, which is Dallas, and so we talk about, oh, the upcoming season. Now, oh wow, I really like John. John was awesome. Our Deb, she was great. I'm so glad I had a chance to meet Deb. So sometimes we can have that bonding effect, and that bonding can turn into more of like a halo effect. So the way we kind of help this is knowledge is key. So not only can they kind of look you up, look your company up, but you can look them up as well. Find out different things about the individual. It really works both ways. If you can strengthen your brand by having a great interview process, by having a wonderful onboarding process. And a lot of business leaders are convinced that branding to attract top talent is critical to staying competitive. So you want to have a brand out there that people want to come work for. So when we talk about knowledge is key, it actually works both ways. One, they're going to have knowledge about you, and you can get knowledge about them. But on that branding piece, it's about making sure what is out there is something that's going to attract top talent and then make them want to stay with you. Also, when we're talking about knowledge and we're talking about the candidate, reviewing that resume, think about it this way. You are not hiring a resume, you're hiring a person. So I don't want you to be fooled. Look at the resume, grammar. Does it match what you're looking for? Do you see progression in regards to their resume? And also, do they quantify their results? You'll see sometimes where people on the resume will say that I increased business, over the last 2 quarters. Okay, how much did you increase it? Did you just increase it by 1%, or did you increase it by 10%? Make sure that they are putting numbers behind their achievements. And so that way that's more meat. That means something more than I increased, revenue over the first 2 quarters. Okay, thanks. That means nothing to me. You want to look at the resume as it is a marketing slick, meaning this right here is the best that you're ever going to see this person. This is their brand. This is their, if they had a man out there turning a sign, this would be on their sign in regards to, all the good things. No one's going to put on their resume, yeah, I called in sick twice, or if I didn't make my goal last quarter. You're not going to see that on a resume. So when you're looking at resumes and you're doing that review, think about it as this is the marketing slick. Just like when you're looking at your brand and looking at the marketing that you put out for different products and services, you don't put out the bad pieces that, oh, that one time we made that one mistake. You're not adding that to your marketing pieces of paper that you're sending out. So a resume is not going to do the same. So if you look at it with those goggles on, that this is the marketing slick goggles, then you won't be fooled as quickly in regards to this. I'm just going to hire this person off of the resume. Let's go. This is perfect. That next hire mistake that we want to avoid are unstructured interview process. This usually it contains, a conversational nature. It also has, oh, we don't really get to the job specifics. We just kind of talk about hobbies and interests and the sororities and the fraternities that you were in. And you use different questions in each interview. So that means we're not comparing apples to apples. We are, comparing apples to oranges, watermelons, whatever. We have to have some type of structure to ensure that when we go back to meeting of the minds of which person we're going to move forward with, we kind of know, well, yeah, this person is better because this is how they answered that question. So think about the solution here. One is the structured interview. So we want to make sure that there is some type of structure to the interview. But when I say structure, this is not rigid. This just gives you an overview, a plan, an agenda of how to get through the interview. Because we're dealing with individuals, they will sometimes, there's ebbs and flow and they may take you down a different direction. Go ahead and follow that direction, but make sure that it stays along the guidelines of what you created. Pre-plan outline questions. And you also want to kind of determine how many questions we're going to have, how many interviews we're going to have. You also want to prep those warm-up questions. And then 90% of the questions should be job and or company related. don't forget, we're hiring them to work in this position with our organization. So we have to see how they fit into this position and into this organization. And then you also want to use a scoring guide, because I know when I was interviewing that, after the fourth or fifth person, sometimes people started looking the same because they were answering, the questions, and everybody, oh, I'm a great team player. I have a high attention to detail. I am a driver. I go after the sale, and I'm resilient. And okay, everybody starts looking the same. And so you want to use some type of scoring guide that, for this particular person, you can measure them. You can measure them on these 10 traits, and you measure the next person on the same 10 traits. So then when you do go to that meeting of the mind meeting, and everybody says, well, you know what? I like Kimberly. Kimberly was great. Well, Tanya, why did you like Kimberly? I liked Kimberly because of how she answered this particular question. She seems to be proactive and had forethought, and she was an active participant in the interview. And so now, instead of just saying I liked Kimberly because she seemed awesome, okay, that doesn't really have any data facts behind it. So we're just going to hire awesome people and not verify why they're awesome, just awesome. So you want to ensure that you have that guideline or that guide to go by to kind of help with everyone. Also, when we talk about interviewing is going to be a lot of listening. And so let's do this quick little exercise. You can just have a piece of paper. Doesn't have to be a big piece of paper. It can be the size of a Post-it. That's all you need. And we're going to do this quick listening exercise. So please write number 1 on your paper. In the list of names, George, John, David, Adam, James, Grace, which names begin with J? And you can write it on your paper. And then number 2, suppose you were given these directions. Go to room 315 and look in the right cabinet and bring me all the boxes of pencils that are left there. For 2A, would you look in the right or left cabinet? For 2B, would you go to room 531, 315, or 135? Now, number 3. You are a driver of a school bus. At the first stop, 13 children get on. At the next stop, 5 children get on and 2 get off. At the third stop, 8 children get on. And at the fourth stop, 4 more get on and 1 sneaks off. How old is the bus driver? So now let's see how we did. Give yourself 40 points if you wrote down John and James. For 2A, give yourself 10 points for the right cabinet. For 2B, give yourself 10 points for room 315. And now, give yourself 40 points if you wrote down your own age, because the first sentence was you are the driver of a school bus. So, raise your hand if you received 100. And to raise your hand, you just use that man at the top that looks like he has his hand raised and click raise hand. Okay. Give yourself 90 if you received, okay, I do see a hand raised at 90. Now, raise your hand if you received 80. Okay. So we're not going to go below 80 because this is a positive type of webinar, but for the hundreds, 90s, and 80s, you're excellent, good, and fair. So I do this exercise in regards to interviewing because it's going to be a lot of listening, and sometimes we have to kind of focus ourselves to make sure that we stay focused in this interview process, because it can kind of drone on, especially if you're doing a lot of interviews. So you want to make sure that you're paying attention, because you could miss some key information that could be the clue as to why I need to move forward with this person, or why I don't need to move forward with this person. And when we're talking about interviewing, there are two different styles. You have the traditional type of interview questions, and these focus on the hypotheticals. And what are your top three strengths, or how would you handle an upset client? Are you competitive? Are you a team player? So things like that, why should I hire you? And some traditional questions are good, but this would be maybe 10% of all of my questions would be traditional. The other one would be behavioral. Because when we're talking about traditional, it kind of goes like this. Let's say I ask you, what motivates you to perform and excel? Well, some people might say, well, my children are my greatest motivation. They are the reason I get up in the morning. Do you all think that that's a great answer to that question? You can say yes or no in the chat box. So, what motivates you to perform and excel? My children are my greatest motivation, and they are the reason that I get up in the morning. No, correct. Angela, Dennis, and Deb, thank you. No. When I've actually had someone answer it that way, and I'm thinking, well, this isn't the Today Show. You're not on a reality TV show. You're trying to get a job. So that leads me to always think about when you're asking questions, think about good, better, best. Like a way to answer that question and what I would be looking for if I asked that question would be something like, knowing that doing my part to increase our customer base will eventually lead to bigger and better things going forward with this organization. Now that sounds like someone, okay, they're motivated by doing a good job. Ding, I want someone that wants to do a good job. Two, they are thinking about moving forward within this organization. Ding, I want someone that can see tenure and moving forward and progressing within my organization. So when you think about interview questions, always think about good, better, best. So what most of your time should be spent on during the interview are behavioral questions. And that focus on why did they do it? How did they do it? And what was the outcome of what they did? So think of the who, why, how, outcome. You want to focus on specific past events. I always say, you want to avoid the teenage answer, like where are you going? Out. Who are you going with? Friends. What time will you be home? Later. Who would accept that from their teenager? What? No one's accepting that from their teenager. So don't allow the interviewee to give you those types of answers. You're going to want to dig a little bit. Well, who are you going? Where are you going? Out. Well, out where? And when you're thinking about it, think about the interview in regards to some of the do's that you want that should happen. We want to engage in small talk. We want to make sure that we don't just start right off with the hammer. So you want to coax and don't hammer. You want to kind of finesse this a little bit. Think about the shock jocks that just say things, or you may ask questions for shock value. That's really not going to get you where you want to go. I always say save that for the daytime drama TV shows. But when you want to get to the heart, you want to kind of coax that out. Think of those great interviews by Barbara Walters. She didn't hammer them. She kind of let them take you on that journey. Let them go through that story. And that way you will be able to get a lot of information. And you also want to take a lot of notes because you are getting so much information. You want to have those standard questions in place and also have that scorecard. You want to think about starting slow, safe, and personal. That's really what's going to bring them out. I usually begin with the more traditional type of question. Where did you grow up, or what was your first job out of college? These are easy questions. They are not necessarily behavioral, telling me the who, the what, the how, but these are just questions that they can answer. They're open-ended. So you want to think about that when you're talking about bringing them in for the interview. Also, you do want to have some of those open-ended questions. What was your last job title is kind of closed. It is what it is. But in my experience, when I was interviewing, when I had those open-ended questions, they took me to places I found a lot of things like, what is your vision for our organization within the next 5 years. If you're hiring somebody that's going to be on the strategic side, they should have come in with that information. Like they should have done some research on my business, and so they should know where, if I'm hiring you for that level of responsibility, you should have some ideas in place. So you want to think about that. Also, give the next steps. That should be the kind of the closer of the interview, is thinking about what my next steps are, or what the next steps are for the employee, so they feel comfortable in regards to, how am I going to close this out? What am I going to do? And so when you're thinking about the interview do's, you want to think about all of the pluses. You want to I always think about, like, when I went to an interview, what happened that I was just like, I cannot believe that interviewer asked me that question, or I can't believe they actually did that. So think about those, and let's try to avoid those, and then incorporate some of these do's. You want to make it seem, I'm not saying that we need to softball these interviews, because it should be some type of pressure should be applied, because in the work, when they actually start the job, they will have some pressure. So you want to make sure that you see how they work under pressure, but you don't want to press them so hard that they break. And so now you failed that interviewee, because now they weren't able to highlight their best. So now let's do a quick little exercise in regards to, so we've interviewed them, I've seen their resume. Now we're going to try to build this perfect employee. So I'm going to give everybody about 3 minutes to build the perfect employee, and I'm going to give you a salary of $40,000. So on a piece of paper, write down the attributes that you are looking for, but remember, you can only spend $40,000. And I'll go ahead and start the timer now, give you about 2 to 3 minutes. And when you're thinking about it, think about, if you don't add that, then you don't get that. So if you're looking for someone with common sense and you don't have $10,000 left, then you don't get anyone with common sense. So you want to be very strategic in what you're, what you're putting on your list. So think about the dominant traits, the must-haves. Okay, time's up. Did you say you wanted us to type it in? No, you were just going to write it in. But Angela, you were above the being proactive, because now if anybody would like to share, how did you spend your $40,000? Please go ahead and type in. Angela's getting the star of the day. She knew what I was going to say, and so she thought about it and typed it in. Proactive, team player, thorough, focused. Okay, Kimberly. So Kimberly wants someone proactive. She wants someone to be a team player. She wants them to be thorough, and she wants them to be resilient. So they can be unfocused and not have any common sense. Okay. Angela wants proactive. She doesn't care about them being a team player. She likes the common sense, and she wants them resilient. And let's see, Kay wants someone thorough, but they don't necessarily need to be resilient. They need to be a team player. They need to be proactive, and they need to have some common sense, but they don't have to be as focused. I do this exercise, as you can see. One, you can tell I didn't give you what type of position I was hiring for. So that's part of that interview, or that retention process of hiring right the first time. Is first we have to know what we're looking for. Because now let's say that I'm looking for a salesperson. I'd want my salesperson proactive. I'd want my salesperson to be resilient. I want them to be flexible. I want them to have common sense. And so you would think about these things in regards to the position, because what we're talking about are dominant traits. If first we have to understand what we need in the organization, and then that's going to help us kind of form the type of interview that we're going to have, maybe how we are recruiting. the type of information that we want to find out about this individual. So when you're thinking about dominant traits, it's, four major traits. It's one, their level of assertiveness. So if you're looking for a salesperson, you want someone proactive, plays to win, competitive. You want someone that is confident, someone that's comfortable leading or asserting themselves in the situations. But if you're looking for a service person, you're looking for someone maybe less assertive. So you're looking for someone helpful, collaborative, supportive. You're looking for someone that doesn't mind working behind the scenes. You're looking for a different person so that $40,000 may look different in regards to the level of assertiveness. So you want to understand that, because also when we're talking about dominant traits, this goes right into play in regards to when we are creating that job ad. If I'm looking for a salesperson, I want to use some adjectives that will attract this assertive type person that I'm trying to bring on staff. Then the next piece is the communication. So, you can have someone that is gregarious, great at building relationships and rapport. If you have someone that's going to be client facing a lot, then and you know the type of environment, that it's not a technical type of environment, it's more of maybe a nonprofit where you really have to get to the person's emotion, you may want more of that relational type of communicator. But what if you are selling, or you're dealing, or your clients are, selling printers or airplanes, something that's more technical, some IT consultation, something like that, then maybe you want more of that analytical, fact oriented, the person that speaks in specifics, the individual that needs data, facts, and proof to back up what they're saying. And not only is this beneficial in regards to one, creating that job ad, but let's, get it right the first time so we don't have to keep doing this. And so now, if I know what their communication style is, I'll know how to properly motivate them. I've worked for a company where they love to do ice cream socials, and they just, and that's one of the things, we talk about engaging your employees, and let's do ice cream socials, and let's go ahead and do a team building exercise every quarter. That only motivated half of the staff, because the other half, they didn't feel comfortable with, having to be that social with everyone. That's not how they got motivated. So while it was nice for some, it wasn't nice for all. So when we're talking about engagement, and engagement will definitely help you retain that talent so you don't have to keep hiring people because people are leaving, is you want to engage them the way that they want to be engaged. You imagine if you had the kudos and the congratulations and the bells and the whistles going out, every time someone did something great. For some people, that would work. But think about those people that would say, if they did that to me, I would just want to crawl underneath my seat because I don't want to be the center of attention. We have a colleague that it's her birthday, and for her birthday, for birthdays, we like to give cake. Because who doesn't love cake, right? But for her to have that, be focused for that, I mean, it's really like 30 minutes, a 30-minute party, basically. That's too much for her. So we know that about her. So for her birthday, we always tie it in with something else. I think there's somebody's anniversary that's right around the same time. So now we've taken the focus off of her. And now she does feel celebrated, but she doesn't feel, so it's working for her in regards to motivating her and thinking that, Omnia really cares and they care about me and they understand me. And that's what you want your people to feel. So understanding the communication style not only works on the front end, it works on the back end as well. And that goes across all of the dominant traits. Like, for example, the pace as well. That pace, some people are quick pace multitasking. They strive to get things done quickly. They love to have competing priorities, where other people are more methodical. They like to complete one task before moving on to the next. They like to have the long range goals and plans, and that works well for them. So understanding the person's pace is essential. Also, that's something that you can include in your job ad. Are you a fast-paced environment? If you're hiring a receptionist, is she going to have to deal with 10 different lines or she's going to have to deal with one? That's a totally different person. Like I have that conversations with clients when we're talking about building their job target, building that graph that we're going to score people against. We find out what exactly does this position look like? Because if you only have a one-line phone, you don't necessarily need a multitasker for that role. Because what's going to happen, you're going to bring that multitasker in because you like that. I like somebody that's quick paced. And that's wonderful. But if they only have one line to deal with and they don't have a lot of interruptions, that quick pace individual is going to get bored. And guess what? That means you're going to have to go back to the drawing board because that quick pace person that you love because they're a multitasker went to another place that truly is a variety type of multitasking type of environment. So you want to think about that pace. Or it could be that you do need somebody methodical. Like I mentioned Cynthia, our benchmarking specialist that helps our clients create those specific job targets and graphs that because that takes a lot of analytics and data and that can be time consuming. She is that methodical type of worker. So that's why we have her in that position because that speaks to her strengths. And now I am someone that can handle the multitasking, the variety, answering the phone, doing the live chats, doing these webinars to help our clients understand, about interviewing or different topics. So now we have everybody working to their strengths. I have variety by being the person that answers the phone, do the live chats, do webinars, and she's working to her strength because she is able to sit down uninterrupted and complete those data intensive benchmarks. So you want to think about that because that will also help you in regards to retaining that top talent. Once you've gone through all the steps to hire them, we want to make sure that they stay. And then lastly, the dominant trait that you want to focus on or think about is structure. How much structure does this position provide? Is this a position where they can be creative and think outside of the box? Think about your salespeople are typically that visionary type of individual because we want them to kind of think of how can you break into a new market? How can you get business closed for me? It's not necessarily a structured type of process of how you go from having a prospect to a client. It can go a lot of different ways depending on the prospect's problem that you're trying to solve, depending on their timeline, depending on their budget. It's a lot of different pieces that go into place in regards to closing that business. So you want someone that can be a little visionary, someone that can be a little creative in regards to how we get them from a I don't know to a yes. But then on the other side of the house, think about the service people. They want that structure. They need that structure. That position is structured because we want to make sure that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. Because we have our salespeople out there coming up with the new creative ideas on how to close it. But when it comes to implementing and making sure that everything is in place, we need someone that's double checking that. And our service people are awesome at that double check piece. And that's why it's great to have the sales and service working together. And when we have them working together, that makes such a strong company. It makes a strong team because now they're getting the sales and we're making sure that whatever they sold is getting processed properly. So you want to understand the level of structure. You want to put that in the job ad. You want to talk about that during the interview. Because if you have someone that wants a very detailed process, like they want to be able to go to the guidebook and tell them, not only where the X is on the map, but giving them landmarks on the way to the X. And this position doesn't have that. This position, is basically we're looking for you to give us that map, to draw that map, because we don't have any of that right now. That's going to be a struggle for that person that already needs the map created. So you want to think about those dominant traits. It will help you, recognize who you're actually employing. It's going to make hiring choices more objective because now we know the traits that we need. When we're building that perfect employee, we know that we need to go ahead and add that assertiveness piece. It's going to help you discover possible challenges because all of these, no matter which side of the house you're on, if you're the assertive or if you are the collaborative, supportive, all of them have their strengths and all of them have their challenges. Understanding what those challenges are will be beneficial. Just like I was talking about with Cynthia and I. My strength is being the multitasker. My challenge is sometimes in regards to follow up and follow through because I have so many things going on at once that if I don't have, things dinging me all the time, like I have Siri reminding me, Alexa's reminding me, Outlook's reminding me, my Salesforce is reminding me. So I have all of these different devices reminding me of, don't forget, you want to make sure that you make that call or whatever the case may be. And so with Cynthia, her, while she's great at that methodical follow-up, follow-through, her challenge can be sometimes if the phones are constantly ringing, being able to prioritize that way. But because we know these challenges going in, we know how to assist them with that. We give her a priority checklist. They give me, make teaching me how to use my Outlook, my, reminders and everything like that. So we can kind of help in regards to those challenges. But you have to go into it with your eyes wide open, knowing knowing what they're bringing to the table and what they may be lacking. So when we're talking about the hiring checklist, first we want to identify that need. So we want to understand what those dominant traits are. We want to do a phone screen because we don't need to interview everyone, especially if you're getting a lot of interviews. Excuse me, if you're getting a lot of resumes, we don't need to interview everyone. Bring everyone in for an interview. You want to do that resume review, but remember, it is a marketing slick. Do some interviews, multiple interviews. You want to have that Omni assessment to talk about those dominant traits so you can go into it with your eyes wide open. Check the references, and then you want to do that offer letter. After you've done all of your due diligence, it's now to say, I've done it. This is the person that we need to bring on. So to kind of wrap everything up, you want to know your own strengths and challenges because you want to know what your biases are going into it. So you want to know that, well, yeah, I do kind of build rapport very easily with people. So I need to be careful of that and really make sure that I'm asking for the meat, the facts, the figures. Know what gaps you currently need to fill. I mean, do you have a lot of Cynthias on staff already and you need a Tanya? Or maybe you have a bunch of Tanyas, the multitaskers, and you need a Cynthia because all that data is just sitting, stacking up because the multitaskers don't want to sit there and focus on it. So you want to find out. And then you want to know your candidate strengths and challenges because that's going to help really narrow down those interview questions in regards to making sure that they understand what their challenges are. And then that's going to help you keep them because now we're going to manage them as individuals because we know what they're bringing to the table. We know what they're motivated by. And that's really what the products are that we offer is that report in regards to talking about the strengths and challenges. Are there any questions in regards to interviewing and keeping that top talent? A great hire is skills plus environment plus talent. So you want to think about that when you're bringing people on, when you're interviewing people. And as you all are typing, and you can go ahead and type your questions at the bottom, as you all are typing, I know I mentioned a couple of times about the applicant tracking system that we have. Because you are a participant in today's webinar, we are offering you an opportunity for a free subscription to our Omnia tracking system. And again, that goes into Indeed. So if you're trying to get the #1 job board, go ahead and contact Carletta at omniagroup.com, or you can give her a call and she can set you up in regards to that free subscription. Because first we need to get the people in. So once you sign up for the free subscription, she's going to send you over to us and we're going to help you with your job ad. So now when it does upload to Indeed, now you're hitting all of those key traits, all of those key parts that we want in regards to getting the key players that we need into our organization. Also, there is some takeaways. So there is an evaluation form that I talked about in regards to the scorecard. If you would like the slides, that's over there under the takeaways as well. And then don't forget, next month we have 2 webinars, which is Maximize Your Personality for Sales Success and Onboarding Your New Employee for Success. So that rolls right into after you've brought them on, now let's keep them because we've already done that work. So it's beneficial to go ahead and keep them. And that Onboarding Your New Employee for Success is how you keep them. I want to thank you all for joining me today. Don't forget to reach out to Carletta for that free offer that is for this, for this webinar only, and that will be open as soon as we disconnect, that is available to you. So please reach out to her. I want to thank you all for joining today, and don't forget to sign up for next month's webinar. Thank you so much and have a great day.